What if I told you that you could walk out to your porch, your balcony, or even just a corner of your kitchen and pick enough fresh, nutrient-dense food to feed your entire family every single morning? What if I told you that this entire garden fits inside a simple 5-gallon bucket you probably have lying around in your garage right now? It sounds like a dream, or maybe a science fiction movie, but it is a reality that is scaring the living daylights out of big agricultural corporations. We are talking about a system where you can harvest fresh greens every 4 days, year-round with almost zero cost. But here is the kicker. While this method is a lifesaver for people looking to be self-sufficient, there is a massive controversy bubbling under the surface. In certain parts of the United States and across Europe, the simple act of growing your own food in specialized setups like this is being met with strange zoning laws, seed patent restrictions, and even outright bans on local food production. Why would anyone want to stop you from being self-reliant? We are diving deep into the bucket garden revolution, the exact steps to get a harvest every 4 days, and the dark reason why the powers that be are trying to label this incredible survival hack as illegal. Before we get into the politics of your backyard, let's talk about the magic of the 4-day cycle. Most people think gardening takes months. You plant a seed in the spring, you water it all summer, you fight off bugs, and maybe by autumn, you get a tomato. That is the old way. We are talking about micro-farming. When you use a high-efficiency bucket system, you aren't growing giant trees or slow-maturing pumpkins. You are focusing on the most energy-packed stage of a plant's life, sprouts and microgreens. But this is not just about tiny bits of garnish on a fancy plate. We are talking about producing bulk biomass that can replace half of your grocery bill. By staggering your buckets, you create a conveyor belt of food. Bucket A is harvested on Monday, Bucket B on Tuesday, Bucket C on Wednesday. By the time you get to Thursday, Bucket A has already been cleaned, replanted with fast-growing varieties, and is already halfway to its next harvest. It is a closed-loop system of perpetual nourishment. The heart of this system is the 5-gallon bucket. It is the perfect unit of measure for a civilian gardener. It is portable, it is cheap, and it is deep enough to hold a reservoir of nutrients. But you aren't just throwing dirt in there and hoping for the best. To get that 4-day turnaround, you have to use a method called the Kratky method, or a modified wick system. You aren't using traditional soil, because soil is actually quite slow. Soil contains fungus and pests that can slow down growth. Instead, we use a sterile medium like coco coir or perlite. This allows the roots to have maximum access to oxygen. In the world of plants, oxygen is the gas pedal. If the roots can breathe without the heavy weight of mud pressing down on them, the plant grows at triple the speed of a traditional garden. This is how we get from seed to plate in record time. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why is this being targeted? Why are we seeing headlines about people being fined for having gardens in their front yards? It comes down to control and the way our modern food system is built. The industrial food complex relies on you being a consumer, not a producer. When you grow food in a bucket that produces a harvest every 4 days, you stop buying those plastic-wrapped bags of lettuce from the supermarket. You stop paying the hidden taxes associated with long-distance shipping and chemical preservation. In some jurisdictions, the fight is over water rights. There are places in the West where collecting rainwater to feed your bucket garden is technically a violation of ancient water laws because that water is owned by someone else miles away. Even though that water is falling from the sky onto your own property, using it to grow food is considered theft in the eyes of some archaic statutes. It sounds crazy because it is. But it goes deeper than just water. It's also about the seeds. If you want to harvest every 4 days, you need a lot of seeds. Normally you'd buy these at a store, but the most efficient, fast-growing seeds are often patented. Large corporations own the genetic makeup of certain plants. In many cases, it is actually illegal to save your own seeds to replant them next year. You are forced into a subscription model for your own survival. By creating a bucket garden system that is so efficient it provides unlimited food, you are stepping outside of that subscription model. You are asserting a level of independence that makes certain industries very uncomfortable. They want you in the grocery store aisles, not on your back porch with a bucket and a handful of heirloom seeds. Let's get back to the practical side, because I want you to start this today. The setup for your unlimited food bucket is surprisingly simple. You need 2 buckets, one nested inside the other. The top bucket has holes drilled in the bottom, and you fill it with your growing medium. The bottom bucket holds your water and nutrient solution. This is where the magic happens. By using a liquid nutrient mix, essentially the same minerals found in high-quality soil, but in a form the plant can drink immediately, you remove all the hard work the plant usually has to do. It's like giving the plant a protein shake instead of a heavy meal. This is why the growth is so explosive. Within 48 hours, you'll see sprouts. By day 4, for certain varieties like radish greens, alfalfa, or mustard, you have a harvestable crop that is packed with more vitamins than a full-grown plant. This is the secret the grocery stores don't want you to know. A tiny microgreen version of a broccoli plant can have up to 40 times the vitamin concentration of a mature head of broccoli. That means one bucket of fast harvest greens is nutritionally equivalent to an entire row of traditional garden vegetables. You are essentially hacking biology to get the most bang for your buck and your time. And because the buckets are vertical, you can stack them. A small apartment balcony can hold 20 buckets. If each bucket is on a staggered 4-day schedule, you are producing more food than some small farms. You aren't just gardening, you are becoming a micro-supplier for your own household. However, as people start doing this on a large scale, the food police have started to take notice. We've seen cases where cities have passed aesthetic ordinances that prevent residents from having any kind of agricultural equipment visible from the street. They try to argue that a row of white buckets looks tacky or lowers property values. But we know what it's really about. It's about discouraging a lifestyle that doesn't rely on the industrial grid. When you can feed yourself for pennies, you are harder to manipulate. You are less likely to be affected by inflation or supply chain disruptions. And that makes you a variable that the planners don't like. They prefer a population that relies on the just-in-time delivery system of modern retail. The legality issues also touch on land use permits. If you sell just one bucket's worth of greens to your neighbor, you could be classified as an unpermitted commercial farm. They will come at you with licensing fees, health inspections, and tax audits that are designed for multi-million-dollar operations. Not a guy with a bucket. It is a way of gatekeeping the food supply. They make it so legally burdensome for a small person to produce food that most people just give up and go back to the supermarket. But here's where the bucket garden wins. It is discreet. It can be done indoors under a small LED light. It can be tucked away in a tiny backyard. It is the silent resistance of the gardening world. Let's talk about the specific crops that make the 4-day harvest possible. You can't grow a cornstalk in 4 days, obviously. But the unlimited food promise comes from things like sunflowers, peas, and radishes grown to the shoot stage. Sunflower shoots are incredible. They are nutty, crunchy, and massive. They grow so fast you can almost watch them move. Pea shoots are another powerhouse. They taste just like fresh peas, but grow in a fraction of the time. When you harvest these, you aren't removing the whole plant in some cases. You are just trimming the top. If you leave the bottom inch, many will grow back for a second or third harvest. This is how you truly reach that unlimited status. You are creating a living, breathing food machine. To keep this going, you need a system for your seeds. Since buying seeds in small packets is a ripoff, the pro gardeners buy in bulk. We are talking 5-pound or 10-pound bags of organic seed. This brings the cost of a single harvest down to just a few cents. This is another area where the law gets tricky. In some states, there are seed labeling laws that make it difficult for people to share or trade bulk seeds. They claim it is for safety, but it often feels like a way to ensure that only the big guys can distribute the building blocks of life. But when you have your own supply of bulk seeds and your bucket system, you are essentially immune to the skyrocketing prices of the produce aisle. While everyone else is complaining that a bag of spinach is $5, you are growing 10 times that amount for the price of a postage stamp. Water is the next piece of the puzzle. Most people use tap water, but tap water is often filled with chlorine and fluoride. While humans can handle it, your 4-day bucket garden is very sensitive. The chlorine can stun the growth of the tiny plants. The trick is to let your water sit out in an open bucket for 24 hours before using it. This allows the gases to evaporate. It's a simple, free way to boost your growth speed by another 20%. This kind of insider knowledge is what makes these small-scale systems so much more productive than the giant industrial farms. Big Ag uses chemicals and massive machines. You use biology and a little bit of patience. But what about the illegal side of the nutrients? This is a weird one. In some hobbyist circles, people are experimenting with homemade nutrient solutions, things like compost tea or fermented plant juices. While these are amazing for the plants, some health departments are trying to ban the use of non-sanitized fertilizers in food production, even for personal use. They want you using the synthetic, factory-made powders that you have to buy from, you guessed it, the big corporations. They advocate for a sterile environment that is only possible with their expensive products. By making your own natural liquid gold from compost and kitchen scraps, you are again cutting out the middleman. You are turning waste into life, which is the ultimate act of rebellion in a world that wants you to just throw things away and buy new ones. The real threat of the bucket garden is that it scales. One person with a bucket is an eccentric. 1 million people with buckets is a revolution. Imagine if 10% of the people in your city started growing their own greens every 4 days. The demand at the local grocery store would plummet. The trucks that burn fuel to drive lettuce from thousands of miles away would no longer be needed. The plastic waste from packaging would disappear overnight. This is why you see so much pushback against urban gardening, and why these illegal labels start popping up. It disrupts the status quo. It's not about the plants, it's about the money. So how do you handle the illegal aspect if you live in a place with strict HOA rules or city ordinances? You go stealth. This is where the indoor bucket garden comes in. A 5-gallon bucket fits perfectly in the bottom of a closet. With a cheap 20-watt LED grow light, you can mimic the sun perfectly. These lights are so efficient they barely show up on your electricity bill. You can grow your 4-day harvest in total privacy. There are no aesthetic violations if nobody can see it. This is how people are reclaiming their food independence in some of the most restrictive cities in the world. They are turning their spare rooms into high-tech food forestries that operate in complete silence. The 4-day cycle requires a bit of discipline. You have to spend about 5 minutes a day tending to your cycle. This involves checking the water levels and making sure the light is at the right height. It is a meditative process. In a world that is obsessed with digital screens and constant stress, spending 5 minutes a day with your living food is a form of therapy. You are connecting with the most basic human skill: growing things. This connection is something the modern world tries to sever. We are taught that food comes from a store, not from our hands. Relearning this skill is like waking up from a long sleep. You realize just how much power you truly have. Another reason the authorities are wary of this is the sharing economy. When you have a bucket garden that produces every 4 days, you often have more than you can eat. Naturally, you give some to your neighbor. Your neighbor, in turn, gives you some of the eggs from their illegal backyard chickens. This localized bartering system is a nightmare for the taxman. There is no transaction to track, no value-added tax to collect. It's just two humans helping each other survive. By labeling these activities as public health risks or zoning violations, the system tries to force you back into the taxable, trackable economy. But the beauty of the bucket is that it's yours. It's private property and personal production. Let's talk about the health aspect for a moment. Most people buying food at the store are eating vampire food. It looks like a vegetable, but it has been sitting in a cold storage warehouse for weeks. It has lost most of its enzymes and a huge chunk of its vitamins. When you harvest a pea shoot or a sunflower sprout and eat it within 5 minutes, you are getting the life force of the plant. It is literally buzzing with energy. People who switch to eating bucket-grown greens report massive increases in their mood and energy levels. It's not a mystery why. You are feeding your body what it actually needs, rather than the dead calories of highly processed or long-stored produce. This is the ultimate health insurance policy. While everyone else is worried about the next health crisis, you are fortifying your immune system with the freshest food on earth. The illegal nature of this gardening also touches on the concept of sovereignty. Food sovereignty is the right of people to define their own food and agriculture systems. In many ways, the laws that restrict your ability to grow food in a bucket are a direct attack on your sovereignty. They are saying that the state or the corporation has a greater right to determine what you eat than you do. But when you plant that seed, you are casting a vote for your own freedom. You are saying that you refuse to be a passive participant in a system that doesn't have your best interests at heart. Is it actually illegal in the sense that the FBI is going to kick down your door for having a bucket of radishes? Probably not for most of us. But the legality is often used as a tool of harassment. It is used when a neighbor complains or when a city needs to generate revenue through fines. The laws are kept on the books specifically so they can be enforced selectively against people who are trying to live outside the standard box. By knowing your rights and keeping your system efficient and clean, you can navigate these hurdles. The bucket garden is your lifeboat in an uncertain world. As we look toward the future, the ability to grow food in 90% less space with 95% less water is going to be the most valuable skill you can have. Whether it's because of environmental changes, economic shifts, or just a desire to be healthier, the 4-day bucket is the answer. It's a tool of resilience. It allows you to stay calm when you see the news about food shortages or price hikes. You know that as long as you have a bucket, some water, and a bag of seeds, you are going to be just fine. The setup is actually quite fun to build. You can involve your kids or your grandkids. It's a science project that feeds you. When a child sees a seed turn into a meal in just 4 days, it changes their perspective on the world forever. They lose that fear of not having enough. They learn that nature is abundant, if you just know how to work with it. This education is perhaps the most dangerous thing of all to the industrial system. An educated, self-sufficient next generation is much harder to control. They won't fall for the same marketing tricks, and they won't be as reliant on the easy out of fast food. Now, you might be wondering about the smell or the mess. This is another area where the bucket system excels. Because it uses a sterile medium and a nutrient solution, there is no rotting smell like you might find in a traditional compost pile. It is clean enough to keep on your dining room table. In fact, many people use these buckets as decorative pieces. A bucket of lush, vibrant green pea shoots is more beautiful than any store-bought bouquet of flowers. And it provides a whole lot more value. You are surrounding yourself with life, and that changes the energy of your entire home. The 4-day turnaround is achieved by soaking your seeds for 12 hours before they even hit the bucket. This is like a wake-up call for the embryo inside the seed. It tells the plant, the rain has arrived. It's time to go. By the time you put them in your bucket, they are already primed and ready to burst. This pre-treatment is the secret to shaving days off the grow cycle. Most people waste time letting the seed decide when to grow. You are the director. You tell the seed that the show has started. The nutrient solution doesn't have to be complicated. You can find pre-mixed, organic certified powders that contain the exact ratios of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that these young plants need. It's like a baby formula for plants. As you get more experienced, you can start tweaking the formula to get different flavors. Did you know you can make your greens taste sweeter or spicier just by changing the mineral balance in the water? It's like being a chef before the food even reaches the kitchen. This level of customization is something you will never get from a grocery store. There's a social aspect to this as well. When you start your bucket garden, people are going to ask questions. You become a beacon of information in your community. You find out very quickly who else is interested in self-sufficiency. You start to build a tribe of like-minded individuals. This community building is the ultimate defense against the legal pressure. When a whole neighborhood is doing it, it's much harder for the city to shut it down. They can't fine everyone. There is power in numbers, and the bucket garden is the perfect way to start building that collective power. Some people worry about the plastic of the bucket. If you are concerned, you can use food-grade buckets, which are usually marked with the 2 inches inside a triangle on the bottom. These are designed to hold food without leaching chemicals. If you want to be even more traditional, you can use ceramic pots or even wooden crates, though the 5-gallon bucket is the most efficient for the reservoir system. The point is to use what you have. This isn't about buying a $5,000 home farm machine you saw on an infomercial. It's about being scrappy and using your brain to solve a problem that the experts say requires a huge budget and a lot of land. The reason it is unlimited is that the seeds are the only recurring cost, and as we discussed, you can buy those in massive quantities. The water usage is so low that it basically doesn't even show up on your meter. You aren't wasting water by spraying it on the ground where it evaporates. The water is in a closed bucket, so every single drop goes into the plant or back into the reservoir. It is the most efficient water use system ever devised for food production. In a world where water is becoming more precious than gold, this bucket system is a literal treasure chest. So why haven't you started yet? Is it the fear of the law? Now you know that illegal is often just a code word for disruptive to the profit of others. Is it the fear of failing? With this system, It's almost impossible to fail because you aren't fighting nature. You are giving nature everything it wants: air, water, and nutrients. In a protected little home. It's gardening on easy mode. You don't need a green thumb. You just need a bucket and a bit of curiosity. As we wrap this up, think about the peace of mind you'll have when you have your first harvest in just 4 days. Think about the flavor of a pea shoot that was still growing 5 minutes before it hit your plate. That flavor is something you can't buy at any price. It is the taste of freedom. It is the taste of knowing that you can take care of yourself no matter what happens in the world outside. The bucket garden isn't just a gardening hack. It's a statement of independence. It's your way of saying that your health and your food are your business, and nobody else's. Don't let the strange laws or the corporate propaganda scare you away from your birthright. Humans have been growing food since the beginning of time. A 5-gallon bucket is just the modern-day version of a fertile riverbank. It's your plot of land, your farm, and your future. Grab a bucket, get some seeds, and start your 4-day cycle today. You'll be amazed at how quickly your life changes when you start harvesting your own unlimited food. The only thing you'll regret is that you didn't start sooner. Imagine your kitchen counter or your balcony transformed into a vibrant, living oasis. The deep greens, the fresh smells, the feeling of soil or cocoa coir between your fingers. It's a sensory experience that grounds you. And the best part? It never ends. As long as you keep the cycle going, you have a perpetual source of life. You are no longer just a consumer. You are a creator. You are part of the solution to a broken food system. You are a bucket gardener. And in 2026 and beyond, that might be the smartest thing you can be. The world might be changing fast, but the basics of life stay the same. We need clean water, good nutrients, and a sense of purpose. The bucket garden gives you all three. It's a simple solution to a complex world. So take the leap. Ignore the illegal tags and focus on the unlimited potential. Your journey to food sovereignty starts with a single bucket. Let's make every 4 days a reason to celebrate. Your first harvest is just 96 hours away. Are you ready? Just do it. Get that bucket, find those seeds, and watch as your world becomes a little bit greener, a little bit healthier, and a whole lot freer. And it fits in the palm of your hand, or rather, inside a 5-gallon bucket. Happy growing, and here is to your independence.